it was really great to be able to say we were revenue generating from day one off an Excel spreadsheet.
And there's a sales cycle and you're looking to implement a PLG motion, is that right? Or you're looking to improve the current one?
So this team of 88 people sent out over 900 different invites. And I'm like, okay, we can't ignore that. There's something there. Now I'm going to go all in.
Straw that broke the camel's back, where you're like, right, that's it, I've had enough. I'm just going to go out and fix this.
It was imposed on me, I would say.
Okay.
It's not one that I share much because it's a little bit embarrassing.
On today's episode of the More Founders Show, we sit down with Nikki Tugano, founder and CEO of SeenCulture. She aims to shine a light on all the untapped talent within your organization. We'll run through how she got to revenue from an Excel spreadsheet all the way through to capital raising and how AI is helping to optimize her business. In our conversation, we talk about her unexpected leap into entrepreneurship and dig into the lessons that she's learned as a solo founder. We also dive into the shift from selling to enterprise into a more PLG-led motion, as well as the role that AI and network effects are already playing into helping to grow her organization. It's an honest, practical look at how to build something from scratch when the odds really aren't in your favor, but how you can turn those advantages into your greatest strength. Let's jump into it. Before we jump in, I just wanted to say thank you so much for listening. I genuinely believe in creating a world with more founders and sincerely believe that the tips and lessons that the founders are sharing with you will help you to either start or grow your own business, whatever stage you're at. That said, I'm effectively treating this as a startup. I'm trying to grow this podcast. And the free thing that you can do to help me today, if you found anything valuable, is to subscribe, follow this podcast. I've always found it really cringy when other creators say this, but now that I'm in a position, I totally get it. It would mean the world. Thank you. Hey, and welcome to the More Founders Show with me, Dave Berner. Today, my guest is Nikki Tugano, founder and CEO of SeenCulture. As I understand it, you are helping companies to find and grow talent that they already have. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, I quite like that.
And so before SeenCulture, you'd spent a decade in people and culture, various leadership roles across Australia and in England as well, was it?
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
And you were teaching positive psychology at the University of Melbourne. So you've got like a full breadth. And now you've taken SeenCulture to be working with the likes of Lassonde and CultureAmp. And yeah, that's awesome. I'd love to hear a little bit more about SeenCulture in your own words. And welcome to the show, of course.
Well, thank you for having me. A bit more about SeenCulture. I typically describe what SeenCulture is today as my third delivery model of how I've always done what I've done throughout my career. And so for some context, our mission is to shine a light on untapped potential. And that's in service. Oh, thank you. I love it too. I mean,
yeah, so cool.
I love it so much. I built a company on it. And like that, this idea of shining a light on untapped potential, it's something that I've done in every different roles and jobs and companies and things that I've been a part of. So that's been a very common thread throughout. And that mission is in service of our greater vision, which is to create a world where everyone feels seen. And awesome. By seen, I mean like I see you.
Yes.
And seen despite not necessarily having the most highly regarded job title or perhaps someone that maybe on the quieter side, like that's introverted or neurodiverse or underrepresented. And I often refer to those as examples because they're categories that I personally belong to that aren't always obvious, but when we, sometimes because of a variety of reasons, including systemic bias, there's talent and capability and incredible people that are overlooked, but sometimes it's for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, for sure. Especially the introvert one is one that I can relate to. I mean, I guess I would describe myself as an introverted extrovert in that naturally I would probably steer away, but I can turn it on if I need to, which even that can be a leg up compared to somebody that then cannot and does not feel that they can. Yeah, that's super interesting. Do you have any merch around the shining a light on untapped talent? That feels like a t-shirt kind of ready to go.
I am really delayed on that front. Like, people tell me that I'm not quite a startup until I've got the swag.
Sure.
And I don't, I have, hang on, I do have a sticker that this is as far as,
Yeah, cool.
and sometimes I'll like go to events or whatever with the sticker on my shirt.
Yeah.
I think I'm wearing a VC's. All of my shirts, by the way, are like swag from some other company.
It's same. I think that's just a founder rite of passage once you get to that point. My wife is always grilling me for it. So, can you just not wear a tech t-shirt for once?
I'm pretty sure I've got some of your swag. I'm pretty
Oh,
sure
really?
I have a hat. Yeah, or maybe a shirt or something.
Yeah, the hat's definitely made the rounds. So the idea behind SeenCulture, that came around because, as you say, you felt that you fit into that category, so you were trying to solve your own problem.
Partly, yeah. So, I guess like the story really does go all the way back to when I was younger. I might not bore you with the detail, but the short version is, from a very young age, I felt unseen. I was an only child, a lonely child, often forgotten, and I also didn't have a voice, like literally for quite some time, and so this idea of now being able to, at least when I need to, communicate effectively, it's been quite a big learning journey.
Yeah, that's massive.
Yeah, and because I was raised by my grandmother who didn't speak any English, and so my verbal development skills were just really stunted. Um, but as a result, what that meant was like throughout school and uni and in my early career, I wasn't necessarily the loudest voice or the person that was the most, out there about what I can do. And as someone that can empathize with that experience, that's certainly where a lot of the conviction for what I do comes from. That said, because I do also have a background in HR and positive psychology or coaching psychology too, which is all around how you identify essentially the outliers, the people who are the above average people that excel and perform, and studying and understanding what it is about them that makes them excel. What is it about them that makes them so motivated to perform in such a way that outpaces and outperforms others. And so that's something that I've just always been really fascinated by.
Yeah.
But I had always seen, I guess the prevalence of favoritism that happens in the workplace, and how sometimes our systems and tools can fail us when it comes to really, identifying people who are very deserving of things like promotions or learning and development opportunities, but don't necessarily, get that exposure or that visibility to be seen. And so, it's from both a professional perspective as well as a personal kind of experience.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's a huge step to move from there to then founding your own company, where you're effectively constantly in the spotlight. It's almost a strange juxtaposition.
It's been quite a big change, that's for sure. It was like, I would say it's happened incrementally. Earlier I mentioned that SeenCulture is the third delivery model of how I've always done what I've done. Like initially it was through the work that I was doing in HR and learning and development and organizational development, and then it shifted into the education sector and teaching others, as well as I was consulting in parallel to that too. And And with that, facilitating programs and workshops and that sort of thing. And now, now we use tech, but it's just
Yeah.
a platform to scale the impact, but same thing.
Yeah, for sure. What was the straw that broke the camel's back where you're like, right, that's it, I've had enough. I'm just going to go out and fix this.
It was imposed on me, I would say.
Okay.
It's not one that I share much because it's a little bit embarrassing, but
The best stories always are a little bit embarrassing.
Yeah, it was. I was working for an employee experience tech company, and they'd asked me to start their like consulting arm and use me as a bit of a figurehead and thought leader in the space, particularly as well because I had an academic background and we were looking at launching an academic kind of or like an EX Academy stream for the business. Some months later, they acquired another consulting firm and said, "You work for them now."
Oh wow!
And but I had all of these big ideas of what I wanted to do, which my new bosses didn't necessarily love it, or it wasn't that they didn't think that there was something there, but it was certainly just not aligned to their own strategic plan and their goals
for sure.
and everything like that. But it got to the point where I just got so annoying that they fired me and they let me go. And this is when I was pitching this people analytics platform would be so valuable if we did this and this and this. And I was really eager to move more into the tech space. They were trying to pull me into be a consultant, deliver workshops. I'm like, that's not scalable. I don't want to do that. But it was when I got let go that I was like, fine, I'll do it.
Yeah, that's great.
I'll do it myself. And actually, the manager at the time that told me the news has since come around, and he's an investor in SeenCulture.
Wow, that's an incredible story. And so it's funny to think, isn't it, though, that had things been slightly different, then you wouldn't have gone down this path, and that the impact that you can have now is going to be so much greater through, even though it may not have been a voluntary step. There's a little bit of a push, but sometimes it's the right push.
Yes.
So you wrapped up there. You decided, right, that's it. I'm gonna give this a go. Are you technical, or do you have an engineering background, or what did the first MVP look like, I guess is where I'm trying to get to, and how did you put it together?
No, I am not technical, like not in the software engineering sense anyway.
I got told off for calling it technical the other day. I believe engineering focused, I think, is the correct.
Yeah.
Because you are clearly technical and you understand your space inside out. So that's something I'm trying to get better at.
Yeah, there's I guess the domain experts, and then there's the I don't know, the software engineers of the world as well.
Yes.
But no, I'm not technical, and so what that meant was that my MVP was an Excel spreadsheet.
Perfect.
It was, and because it had evolved out of my consulting work, it started with being, as many consultants are familiar with, like a bunch of slides that had really nice reports on them, and graphs and things. And then it eventually evolved into me being able to, automatically generate these reports that were connected to a dashboard that was all driven by an Excel spreadsheet. I did have the help of my data scientist, of course. And,
very cool.
So I was fortunate to have that. And because again, all of this evolved out of my consulting work, we essentially had customers from day one, because I said, look, you're going to get the same outcomes. We're still delivering you, what you're after. It's just going to be in a different capacity. So here's a new contract.
Yep.
Um,
They'll
and
bait and switch. I like it.
yeah. And so they were like, so what that meant is I had customers from day one, based on this very, I guess, immature technology product. Not like I don't know that I can even say that it's that, but because we had their support and their payment alongside, they referred us on to our like first maybe 2 or 3 customers. Yeah, it was really great to be able to say we were revenue generating from day one off an Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah, that's incredible. So you say but you are a solo founder, as I understand it?
Well, yes.
Or
Yeah, no,
mm,
I am a solo founder, yes. But I say we because it's never just me.
yep,
I have support and help, but I am, yes, a solo founder.
gotcha. And so the rest of the team, you mentioned a data scientist was also there from day one?
Yes,
Or
yeah.
just trying to understand that, yeah, how I guess what that early team looked like and how it's progressed.
Yeah. So initially the data scientist who was someone that I'd worked with like on the original consulting kind of model. And so that was like just a nice segue. Um, and I then ended up engaging, because I'm not a technical co-founder or I don't have one, and I couldn't afford one. I I engaged Everest Engineering to help with the build and essentially make our MVP actual software, not just an Excel spreadsheet. So I gave that to them and said, make it software now, um, and use the revenue that we got from those customers to pay for that. And that's
Oh,
also when
perfect.
I started my startup trajectory and that kicked things off, and I that was when I'd actually just started or been accepted into Techstars, and
Awesome.
mm,
So the Everest, this I suppose this was a step on from your. Is this MVP V2 or this is still the current state and you're kind of growing it out from there?
so that would be, I would say it's like SeenCulture 1.0,
Yep.
like a level up from MVP.
Mhm.
Today we're on 3.0 and we're now building for 4.0. But yeah.
Awesome. So the 1.0, was that part of, I'm actually not too familiar with how getting into Techstars works. Is that like an application, a pitch, and you show a demo similar to kind of YC and something in that
Yeah.
realm?
It's not too dissimilar from a YC or StartMate process. In that you submit an online application that requires you to like essentially share elements of your pitch or your idea. Typically, they look at unlike something like an antler, right? They do need some level of validation for the idea that you've done at least that initial user research. If you have revenue, amazing. But a lot of them typically are pre-product market fit, pre-revenue. So because Techstars, they're a pre-seed accelerator. They're often compared to YC. So on a global scale, and here more locally in Australia, often I guess compared to StartMate, and yeah, and I loved that program.
Yeah, I mean, you would have been a pretty strong applicant, I guess. So you're effectively applying with revenue, customers, and a spreadsheet ready to go. So you're kind of ticking all the boxes. Fully bootstrapped up until that point.
Yes, yeah. Techstars was our first check.
Yep. Awesome.
Mm.
And did you go through that program alone, or the data scientist came through it with you?
No, I went through it alone. Yeah.
Yep. How was that?
Super fun and engaging, but also really hard to juggle all the things because, it's obviously an accelerated program where you're learning all about how to build a successful startup. And so it's quite intensive with lots of sessions that you need to attend and content that you need to digest and apply. And then, of course, you have to still run your startup, which in and of itself is a challenge. And, if you throw a capital raise in there too, it just blows everything out.
Yeah, for sure. And doing that all solo as well. Can't imagine that. I feel when we're three founders, and it kind of gives us the advantage to be able to throw some of those things to each other to handle. Did you ever consider looking for a co-founder, or was kind of a solo mission and you were determined to?
No, not at all. I always envied the other founders in the cohort that I was with who had co-founders to divide and conquer. And yeah. And so it's certainly not through lack of, well, so trying might be strong, but I've always been open to the idea, and there have been various instances where I've been more or less active in, finding someone. And what I've liked to do as well is just work with them on a bit more of a work with them first, get to know them first,
Yep.
and then see if it makes sense. But this is the second startup that I've that I've been in, or the first one didn't quite work out due to co-founder, fallout, and so since then I've been quite I don't know, I guess, just
you want to make sure it's the right person coming in, because people always liken it to a marriage or something similar, and you probably actually spend more time in many ways with your co-founders, and so much hinges on it, especially if you do end up doing a capital raise and other people's money's involved, and it's just that relationship is pretty pivotal. So makes total sense that you would be wary, shall we say.
Yes, yeah, and quite particular as well. And so but I continue to be open to it, and I have in fact, or this is I'm at this very moment I'm the closest to bringing on someone that could play like a bit of that role, in that I've it's actually the most viewed or engaged with LinkedIn post I've ever done in history. It was a couple of months ago. I put out a post for a founding CPTO at SeenCulture, and it got like dozens and dozens of reshares and I don't know, like 50,000 impressions or something,
Wow,
which is big for me.
Yeah, that's massive. Yeah.
And so, we got a lot of we got a lot of good interest. One thing that we never have a problem with at SeenCulture is attracting talent. That's for sure. That's like one of our greatest strengths.
Well, that's perfect. I guess because they will know from the outset that you are looking to foster talent from within, right? And so once you're in, that's the light will shine.
Yes, exactly right. So let's see what happens.
Yeah, that's exciting. So are you interviewing people off the back of that at the minute and looking to? Yeah,
they've gone through quite a thorough process. I feel for them.
Okay.
Because of course, I need them to know and understand the product and the user journey. And so I said, try SeenCulture for yourself, which requires them to get their own profile of how they're seen and seek feedback on that. and then, I got them to put together a one-pager on their strategy doc based on where we're at. They got assessed against a framework of capabilities, against a CPTO framework that I developed in partnership with some key advisors, like key kind of product leaders in the startup ecosystem. And anyway, they've been through the ringer, let's just say.
Yeah. Oh, I was going to say, as a, without an engineering background, how do you go about evaluating someone with that skill set?
Yeah.
But I suppose if you've got the advisories board there that can kind of help you, that's a huge step.
Yeah, I do have very generous technical advisors. And so, at least 2 or 3 of them have been involved in that process too.
So after the Everest MVP 1.0, I suppose even in the ideation of that, did everything from the spreadsheet make it into the software version, or were there things that you tweaked? What was the evolution, I suppose, from Excel to software?
Most things did get put into the software version, which is really great. I guess because quite a lot of validation for some, capabilities or features was somewhat already, there was a lot of support for, because it was what I had done through the work I'd done previously. It was just more, how do we streamline and automate what already exists, and scale what already exists. And so you can, if you were to compare our Excel version to what the to what the product looks like now, at least from one of the views, it doesn't look that different. Like you can see how they how they relate, which is great. Of course, we have had some nice UX and UI enhancements, and so,
yeah, for sure. Yeah.
and now we can, like, the nature of how we collect data originally, like, it was very similar to like a 360-degree feedback process. I'm not sure if you've ever gone through that before.
Yeah, I have. Yeah. In the UK, I worked for a company where they're quite big on that. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a similar process, and it often takes a very, very long time to collect all of the data, analyze the data, report on it, and then deliver it to the individuals, themselves. And I think the benchmark is something like 6 to 12 weeks.
Wow.
To get this. Today we can now do it in 2 hours is our record so far.
It's incredible.
And so, there's certainly some improvements that have been made.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so good. So would you, not wanting to throw Everest under the bus, but for another founder kind of starting out, would you still go the agency route for building out of an initial version?
I certainly I got a lot out of my engagement with Everest, and I don't know that I would change if I were to go back. I don't know that I would change that decision at all, because I'm really happy with where I am. That said, it's not as if the product isn't very different from the original build of what they did. But it's also because of the added value that I got from being partnered with them, like including things like, having access to advisors and coaches across their whole business,
Oh, wow.
being able to work in their office whenever I liked, being a part of their, Friday drinks, being taken out to lunch, and eventually just becoming a part of them, or them being a part of SeenCulture. And
that's amazing.
Yeah, they helped me with things like my capital raise. They did our website. None of this was in the contract, by the way.
Wow. Yeah.
And so,
because you do hear some horror stories of people going the agency route. However, it's both yourself. I know I was talking to Sam Garvin the other day, and She worked with Numeral and had an incredible experience with the team over there as well. So maybe something's shifting.
Yeah, I think it's about finding the right partners as well. If I was looking for a pure, vent like supplier to provide a service and that was it, I think it would be a very different experience. But because it was a much more integrated and embedded partnership that we had, I felt really great and felt really supported by them. And to this day, they still support me 2 years. 2 years down the line, they put me forward to be keynote speaker at a conference, and they continue to do that on an ongoing basis. So,
yeah, that's incredible, and it's great. Yeah, you've still got that ongoing relationship, and so I guess at some point you decided to bring engineering in-house.
Yes, yeah.
So can you tell me a little bit about that? Well, I suppose even like who your first hire was and how you decided on what the gap was that needed filling and how that came about. Because if it's yourself, the data scientist you worked with quite closely beforehand, so bringing in somebody new, especially from previous experiences, must have been a nerve-wracking experience.
That's for sure. Yeah, like we did have a team there, at varying degrees. Sometimes it was 2 of us, sometimes it was 7 of us, and it would kind of dial up and dial down based on what was needed at the time, or based on where our cash flow was, to be completely honest. And so what that meant is that initially, as we were starting out, they were the team were primarily engaged on a contract basis rather than as full-time employees, so that I had that flexibility. But it also just helped protect our costs and managed risk and that sort of thing too, because sometimes you don't know who's going to work out in the long term until
yeah. And what roles were they at that point?
So full stack engineer, as they were first to jump on once our contract finished up with Everest, and that was a huge role that they took on, and it was necessary for them to be full stack, of course, because we only had one of them. And we've always had as well someone that straddles both customer success with operations, and to some extent also kind of leaning into, or this is a big part of what I've been doing, like leaning into product kind of territory as well. We also have had, I say this because there's always up and down of who we've got in the team. We had our data scientist. There was a lot of with him that we've been able to actually automate now, and so his engagement ended up reducing over time, which meant our burn was going down, and we were like, okay, great, that we see it has an impact on who you have in the team. And even our operations person, there's very little that people do now these days. It's just, I've got a team of like 6 or 7 AI agents working with us. So they take care of a lot of that as well. But it tends to move across like typically engineering. Well, we have 2 now, and we've got a product designer / developer that's very, very deep into AI. And so there's a lot of experimentation happening there on that side. And I'm learning how to do everything.
I feel your pain. You end up kind of doing everything from product to sales, support, podcasts, like just the whole gamut, right? Like the whole marketing, and it's fun. But you clearly very passionate about what you do, or you just can't dedicate that time to it. otherwise.
That's right. Yes. Yeah. You really need to be like committed to run through walls, I think.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And like you say, AI definitely is playing quite a big part in enabling more startup founders to be leaner, for sure. Um, and that's definitely something that we're exploring as well. Like, how can we leverage AI to improve just output everywhere, I suppose, really. Are you also how heavily integrated in the product is it now, and has that changed since MVP?
Yes, it's changed a lot. I've actually become even more and more into like the product development side of the business than I had done previously. Before, I was primarily focused on like a lot of outward facing kind of activities in terms of like marketing and sales and business development and, getting seen, of course,
Yeah,
which was particularly relevant when we were capital raising and, just gaining traction with our early adopter customers and those sorts of things. More recently, however, I have been a lot more, I guess involved, probably more from a like as a product owner and or product manager perspective. But it's been really great with AI that someone like myself can, do things and try things and I think so much of it is also just a mindset than it is anything else. There's so much that can be validated without, you know,
yeah,
being an
for sure.
engineer.
Yeah. But sometimes it can be too validating. I feel like it always thinks my ideas are great.
Mm.
But yeah, I guess you don't mean necessarily personal validation, but validating an idea or a thesis.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. There's many. One of the things that I'm never short of is ideas, and it's always a question of, but which one do we,
yeah,
which
rank
one
these
do we
out of
follow
10.
through on?
Yeah,
Yes, focus. Focus
yeah.
is important. Some recent, I don't know, user behavior that we've been looking at is indicated that there's interesting promise for a PLG motion to drive a flywheel for SeenCulture, and so that's a big part of what's instigated now my keen
Awesome.
focus in this side.
Are there specific tools that you're leveraging for that? I'm sure other founders would be keen to learn.
uh I mean, there's specific. It's probably less about the tools. It's more about how we're um, quickly experimenting with what works and what doesn't, and seeing how people respond to it. Than it is so much about the tools, because we're always trying out different tools. Like I could recommend one now, but it might be that we're not using it in 3 months' time. And
Yeah, yeah. By the time this goes out, it's gone and been replaced by something else.
yes, exactly.
Yeah. So you touched on there as well about the capital raise. So you raised about 1 million AUD, I think it was in end of last year, middle of last year. When did you know? Okay, right now it's time. It's time to raise, because you were generating revenue already. You generated enough that you were able to pay an agency. So what was the point where you were like, okay, we need some more money to really scale this out?
Yeah. So, a lot of it is a need just based off, changes we've had to make in response to, um, like how the product was being engaged with from our customers. And so initially we were, our target buyer was HR, and we were going after enterprise deals. And initially when we had those deals, what that meant was, really great deal sizes, but very few, but good ones.
Yeah,
Which is why we could, initially at least, pay an agency to then do some of that development work. But of course, when certainly when you're paying engineers, that doesn't always last for too long, especially if you can't sustain that repeated sales cycle with deals at that kind of scale. And the reality is, I discovered that going after the HR buyer for enterprise deals was not the way to go.
Okay.
And
What made you realize that?
it took too long. I mean, procurement hurdles. It took too long. It required us to be a lot more mature than we were. And we're an early stage pre-seed startup going against some really, really big players. But there were if we were going after the HR buyer, they inevitably would need to get buy-in from a variety of different stakeholders, including finance, legal, IT, and a whole suite of decision makers. And so even though you might win over a champion, it didn't mean that you would get the contract, And
yes. Yeah.
And
what are you talking, like 3-6 month sales cycles on those, or longer?
Yeah. I mean, sometimes it's longer depending, but it could take a really long time. And, suddenly we were in this startup kind of VC track, which meant that we had to show traction fast. And the enterprise deals were not delivering on that. So we had to be the ones to change tact and deliver. And so what that meant was that we started targeting teams instead of whole enterprise. It was so much faster, 6 times faster, actually, to onboard a team or a department instead of a whole enterprise. And, just looking at what all of those barriers to entry that we can just remove, or how might we be able to adjust the way that we onboard a new customer such that we're addressing those barriers up front and making it easy for them to say yes. And so, that's in large part what we did. It also actually ties a lot more closely to a big part of our unique value proposition, which is that, we're often referred to as the money ball, but for modern working teams. Mm-hmm. And so we use, analytics and data to identify what players perform best on a team, and in particular what composition of them do, much like in Moneyball. And people really, like, that analogy really landed with a lot of people, particularly in their understanding of how a team functions and the importance of making sure that you're bringing on a mixed skill set of diverse capabilities and experiences and things. And so, that was something that was certainly compelling for our prospects.
Yeah. And those prospects to date, then, you don't currently have a PLG motion? This is people will reach out to you and get in contact, and then there's a sales cycle and you're looking to implement a PLG motion. Is that right? Or you're looking to improve the current one?
We're looking to some extent, validate that the PLG motion is for us. So we do already have some good signals that's something that fits within our business, and partly that came from, like, we onboarded a team. Well, it was more like a department. It was 88 employees across, I think, three different teams. And the level of engagement that we were getting from these individual users, as part of the process, you need to invite feedback. And as a minimum, we say invite at least 3 people. And as soon as you've got 3, you'll get, it will generate your results of how you're seen. Now, because we changed and gave individuals agency to invite people themselves to SeenCulture, we ended up having users invite up to like 60 different people to the product. And I was like, oh my God, like we didn't even design for this specifically. Like I only asked them to invite 3 and and it just went like viral, like quite literally. The managers were really, really pleased that their employees were so engaged in this process and loved that they were so open to feedback, but were equally like, well, hang on, you've like, they all now are preoccupied on this SeenCulture thing and we need them to do their jobs.
Yeah.
But it's great when you've got that kind of, like cultural engagement across everyone. And so because all of these invites were going out, we also noticed that some of them were inquiring or like asking about how they could get a profile themselves. Because you can invite anyone. It doesn't have to be someone specifically within your team. You can invite a friend, an ex-coworker, or someone, and suddenly we're getting, some inbound, and we're like, oh, this is nice. Like this is a pleasant surprise. And so now our key focus right now from a PLG perspective is, all right, how do we convert these people into like activated users themselves? If we know that we can, so this team of 88 people sent out over 900 different invites. And I'm like, okay, we can't ignore that. There's something there. Now I'm going to go all in and see if we've got, if we can do something about activating a growth loop from this rather than me just doing founder-led sales. Not that I'm not doing that, but yeah.
Yeah, that's huge. How much of, I guess up until that point is kind of founder-led, or how much of the traction would you say have kind of come from your own network and presence as a founder?
Yeah, certainly like our first initial customers were from my network. But when I say they're from my network, they're from someone that I know that then refers me on to someone that then become a part of my network, and then therefore they're in my network, but actually it's a referral. And so like for this particular customer that I mentioned, actually they're an example of that, where they were referred through another customer. And that other customer was referred through someone else. And that someone else was someone that I met in Techstars. And yeah, like where one of the biggest things that I always rave about is network effects. Both in terms of like how we get, exposure and visibility, but also within the product, like building in these network effects into the product to drive PLG. But it's also how we get customers. Like, so most of our customers, know us through someone.
Yeah, that's incredible. So do you kind of actively or deliberately work on like personal brand? And I see you post on LinkedIn, and you touched earlier that you had the one that was like 50,000 impressions, which is huge. Is that something that you actively have done kind of from the start, or were you doing it pre-startup? Or
no, I wasn't. It's something that I knew was necessary. So I don't come from the right kind of background to, like, I remember when I first started out, people were like, why don't you do a friends and family round? And I'm like, what friends and family have this kind of money? I don't understand. Like, it didn't even make sense to me. And so I had to be very intentional about outreach and building credibility in front of the right people, which meant that it was, I did start seeing that people were engaging with my posts or my content in a way that seemed quite interesting. And then I was like, oh, maybe I can maybe I can use this. And yeah, so now I've been a little bit more intentional about it, about marketing and personal branding. It did take some time for me to feel comfortable and to be a lot more open about the connection between my personal history and, SeenCulture, the startup and product.
Yep.
I didn't used to speak about that in the past. I would just say, it's emerged from the work that I did, but it's not connected to, the deepest stuff.
So are you predominantly LinkedIn, or you're kind of diversifying across platforms, or which do you find is working for you?
For me, it's primarily LinkedIn that I'm using. I don't think I'm on anything else, actually. But I do need to get onto it. It's not that I don't see value in it. I'm just only on LinkedIn for the time being.
And for the juggle of it, as much as anything else.
Yes.
And I guess, it's for yourself and for a lot of founders, myself included, like putting yourself out there isn't necessarily something that comes naturally, or maybe it does for you, but it sounded like from my earlier conversations that it wouldn't necessarily be your happy place. It's definitely not mine. What advice would you have for a founder who is kind of uncomfortable and feeling like, I really should be doing something on LinkedIn to help promote? How would you suggest they start?
The idea of, I don't know, doing an investment pitch is something that I've never loved to do. But if I reframe it as I'm just talking about a passion that I have had in a number of different lifetimes that now means I'm doing this work that I do and I enjoy it and it's super meaningful, then, it's what lights me up and enables me to engage those capabilities instead of being too fearful of, the other side.
So it's in the framing.
Yeah. I guess it's in how you choose to look at it. But for me as well, and when it comes to producing and engaging LinkedIn content, my thing is, share something that shows that you've put in deep thought into something, because that's what we have less and less of, in this AI-driven world.
For sure. So much just awful content that says nothing, and then
Yeah. And that's not to say don't use ChatGPT to help you. I would say use it to help you ideate on your content rather than write it for you. Sometimes the flaws make it seem more human, make it seem more authentic, and therefore, it's more
100%.
engaging and real. And so, but it's always about like, what is the unique, I guess, insight that you're sharing out in the world? How is it adding value to your ICP? And what's the call to action? Like, I think if you're hitting those things over time, you
almost need like a scene culture for social media. For people that don't necessarily, they're not going to be posting every day and wanting to put photos up, but they're still like, that would be an interesting problem to solve, or not necessarily social media, but being able to enable them through kind of get a stepping stones to start their own thing. Because I imagine I've never seen anything like that. Maybe that's next.
Who knows? Maybe we're working on it.
Well, what are you working on at the moment, or is it under wraps?
What I'll say is that we're working on this whole PLG motion, which means that we are now, like, traditionally, we would sell direct into, like business to business, and the buyer would be, someone with access to a budget and a credit card, and that is still very true for who our customer is, absolutely. But we didn't want, we wanted to enable individual users to still be seen despite their manager not signing them up, if that makes sense. So yeah, that's something that we're working on. It's a free profile of how you're seen, and a self-service kind of experience
Awesome.
Is something that's coming.
When can we expect to try it out?
Where are we now? Let's
We are
say
mid-August.
let's say 1 month.
Okay. Yeah. Awesome. And what sort of teams, or at what point do you think a founder should be thinking of adopting a technology like SeenCulture? Is there a team size, or is it a day one, or where do you think it kind of fits into that life cycle?
Yeah, good question. Well, SeenCulture's ICP is actually like department heads or senior managers of teams within organizations, where they have direct reports, and typically across different departments. Now, that doesn't mean that a founder or a startup team can't engage with it with their individual Seen profile. Because one of the things that's really valuable about this is it essentially gives you some insights on how people perceive how you show up against certain capabilities, identifying what your strengths are, where there might be some growth opportunities, what you're most endorsed for, and in such a way that you can use it as a recognition kind of supporting aid. And so, helping to equip you with, it could be challenging conversations that you're having at work, but it also could be just a bit of feedback as well on your leadership style or what your reputation is, with others. And so, yeah. If you've done anything like, some people have done like different personality tests or strengths profilers and those sorts of things. So it's not too dissimilar of a process, outside of the fact that we additionally get feedback from other people, so that it's a mirror of how you're seen, rather than it just being purely informed by your own opinion of yourself.
I always found those really hard because I can show up in quite different ways depending on circumstance. I think there was one I did years ago that has like colors. You're like yellow, blue, and then what kind of person you are. And I'm like, well, when I'm with my friends, I might be this color, and if I'm at work, I might be this color, and if I'm with my kids, then you don't necessarily just fit into a specific box. And it possibly is the same for even how you're mirrored. Like different people would see you in different ways depending on which context you're in at a given moment.
Yeah, 100%. And that's one of the things that those existing assessment tools or profilers aren't able to do, like provide that context, which is something that we are very intentional about building into how we've done it.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, I won't keep you too much longer. Just got a couple more questions for you.
Sure.
What would one piece of advice be for a brand new founder starting out today? What would your advice be?
Work to understand what you don't know.
Okay.
I think like we end up being super ignorant on in terms of going, this is the best idea ever, and then just like going all in on this, and other people are like, you have not done any user research, have you?
Yeah, it's the classic, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
No, that's definitely great advice. I guess it's easier when you are solving a problem that you feel deeply connected to in the way that you do. Are you dog fooding your own product? Are you using
always? Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
And what team size are you now?
Today we are I think we had 5 people show up to our stand-up this morning. So,
Yep.
And then we're looking at hiring 2 more, actually.
Oh, great.
Mm.
So you're all co-located, or do you have remote workers as well?
No, we're actually primarily remote working
Hmm.
now. We did used to be, we did used to have an office and have a hybrid setting, but yeah, now we're a little bit spread out.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so I mean, it shows from teams of three enough in theory. Then it should be good if it's three that you need to kind of create the
Mm.
network. All right. Final question then. I'm quite big into music, always have been. So, what's one song or album that kind of gets you into the zone if you've got some deep work to get done?
Oh, if it's related to getting into the zone for deep work, it's has to be something that doesn't have words,
Okay.
because I will pay too much attention to it. It has to be something that I don't want to dance to, otherwise I'll end up dancing instead of doing my work. Which means lately, I'm just going to bring up my Spotify now. My latest playlist is Peaceful Piano.
I like it. I'm thinking about putting a playlist together from all the songs that are recommended, just to see. Imagine like the up and down roller coaster, just going through lots of different founders in the zone music. What do you dance to?
Uh, Lots of things. Lately, I've been dancing to a lot of kind of, I guess, Latino-inspired music.
Yeah, fun.
And I don't know. I love chilled beats as well.
Hmm.
And yeah,
Awesome.
sometimes
Well,
there's Afro beats that's weaved in there.
oh yeah,
Yes,
that
yeah.
that feels like it could get you in the zone.
Well,
No,
no, it ends up
no, it just
distracting
takes
me. Yeah.
over, and then you're up and around and dancing. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on the show, Nikki. It's been an absolute pleasure. And if people want to catch up with you, what is the best place for them to check you out?
Find me on LinkedIn is the best place. You can also check out our website. It may change momentarily, but
All right. Well, that's exciting. It's a cliffhanger ending.
yeah.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Cheers. Take
Dave.
care.
Bye.
Thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed today's episode, feel free to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcasts. You can also visit our website at morefounders.show for all previous episodes and more information about the show. Thanks again. See you in the next one.